Welcome to the weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Hey.
So we are back after a 2-week hiatus, and Chris, of course, is not back because there's meetings and all kinds of stuff that jobs just don't allow for anymore. So I think lunch is becoming a distant memory for Chris. I think it's like probably energy bars at her desk is the best that it's going to be for a while. But anyhow, this week on the weekly, Marvel and DC superhero trademark defeated. Darktide card game by Cubicle 7. Mythic dissolves. So any of those all-in pledges you're waiting to get fulfilled, stop holding your breath. And a Mothership collaboration crowdfunder. So let's start out with some interesting news. And the list of trademark cases is pretty hysterical for this, but there was an article posted on Bleeding Cool about how Marvel and DC gained and then lost the superhero trademark. So this is 2 words, superhero. There's many variations on this theme, but this is the one that was challenged and that they lost. So back in the 60s, I believe, there was a costume maker. So Ben Cooper Inc. Is credited as trademarking the first company to trademark superhero. They had a license with both DC and Marvel to make Halloween costumes. And so they trademarked the term superhero, 2 words, and as well as famous heroes for their, kind of logos and box markup. And so that was the first kind of trademark initiation for that kind of terminology. In the 70s, Mego, the doll makers, the famous superhero doll makers, Mego registered world's greatest superheroes as a trademark, and also plural superheroes, ES. And then, later in the 70s, more toys started using that. So Mego basically making toys, and Mego was the first to kind of start this ball rolling. They jointly assigned their interest in those trademarks to DC and Marvel, their client at the time, and that would include all the ranges. So they were working with Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, all of the big heroes from those 2 companies. Cooper, the Ben Cooper Inc., the costume maker, withdrew their opposition and kind of control of that trademark and kind of ceded it to that client as well. So by 1977, Marvel and DC jointly declared that they were the owners of superhero, and all of the registered iterations of that. And I can't believe they shared it. There was a little bit of an attempt. They kind of tested each other to see if one could, get away with stealing it from the other, of course. And, they each have a separate filing for superhero related trademarks, but none of them have been, they don't compete with each other, and they kind of keep their distance. So that means that superheroes is mostly used by DC, 2 words. Marvel superheroes, of course, is used by Marvel. And then DC later registered Legion of Superheroes. So that's all out there floating in the legal abyss. And they are both joint owners of World's Greatest Superheroes from 1977. So the first time that they kind of defended this was in 82, so early 80s, against Leo Gutman Inc., when he was trying to register Super Action Heroes. And after some negotiation, he abandoned that claim. Later, Bergman Pittsburgh's Superheroes was registered by Alan Mark Bedelion, and it was an anti-drug education program. And so Marvel and DC, they carved out that because I guess they felt bad, like totally destroying this, anti-drug program for schools, and based in Pittsburgh. So it's specifically a trademark for anti-drug education that uses juggling and skating. They're allowed to use Pittsburgh's superheroes.
Juggling and skating.
Yes, of course. But the true heroes of this story are Super Babies Limited. So S.J. Rickold and Superheroes Limited were the most recent case that resulted in this the Patent and Trademark Office canceling Marvel and DC's joint trademark. So they have they were challenged. They submitted their trademark for Super Babies and were challenged by Marvel and DC, but a judge decided, yeah, that's too general. You can't, everything with super or hero in it is not yours. So this resulted in Super Babies, the Super Babies challenge finally toppling this like longstanding from the 60s. So this longstanding joint trademark, 50 years of domination by Marvel and DC. So Super Babies is free to use that term. There were a lot of other funny cases, and all of these were defeated. So all of these trademarks had to back away and abandon their claims. So things like superhero skateboards, superheroes, spelled like soup, SOUPER, for dips and chowder was too close. They had to abandon their claim. Real superheroes, ice cream, abandoned their claim. Teachers are the real superheroes was defeated. They really sucked. Yeah, your home superhero for home repair. Superhero beer was defeated. Danger Man, the urban superhero, lost to DC and Marvel, and just a lot of Pollen First, the Echo superhero, lost in 2009. So this has been a while. So we can thank Super Babies for there's a lot of toy lines and cartoons and things just tried to use. Oh, and even Mego, that's funny. So Mego, I guess somebody maybe bought that name and they tried to reestablish their world's greatest superheroes toy line, and they were challenged by Marvel and DC. Their former clients in 2009 said nope, and that's not going to happen. And thankfully, superheroine era NFTs was defeated in earlier this spring in 2024. But so no NFTs. For those superheroines. But so now everything is open. So it'll be interesting to see. And I just thought this was kind of, peripherally related to tabletop, because now people are allowed to, use any iteration of superhero for their tabletop games. So I wonder if we're going to see any interest in kind of moving back into, being able to use the terminology superhero in a game makes a big difference, I think, for theming and everything. So thank you, Super Babies, and screw you, Marvel and DC. They're just part of giant companies anyhow. It's a Disney and Warner Brothers. So yikes. But
When I first saw that story, I shared it on Threads. And I was like, all right, I better see a bunch of indie games, some superhero zine games and one pagers, and I want to see it all. But no, everyone's like talking about that stupid Marvel superhero game.
Oh, right. Right. They just can't win. I guess it did. Troika did a superhero game. I did an unboxing of that. We should give that. I don't think there's any digital assets aside from the PDF, but we should give that a try, because it was kind of fun. Like the way you could recombine the kind of the player roles and stuff. Your secret identity and then your hero role. That was kind of fun to mix and match those classic combinations.
You didn't bring back a copy of Villains and Vigilantes from your visit, did you?
I may have. Yeah, unfortunately. So a couple of my favorite older box, anything with the Jeff D art. So Cyworld and Villains and Vigilantes, those were purchased, only based on my 12-year-old love of Jeff D. So any art that he did, the illustration of the box, I bought basically. So I think I may have literally the cover, like the box is totally crushed. The bottom of the box is missing, but I have the cover art for a few of my favorite things that didn't survive. So I've got all my old Traveler, there's Cyworld. I think Villains and Vigilantes is in there, but I did also reclaim all my Palladium Turtles stuff, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. So I had all of those original books from the RPG. So it'll be interesting. What's that?
Which would be more annoying to play? An old FGU game.
Right.
It's gonna be crunchy as hell.
Yes.
Or a ridiculous Palladium game that lets you make characters who can like punch the sun.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I didn't see in any of those old RPG books my old copy of Toon, the Steve Jackson cartoon
Toon,
RPG. Yeah. I didn't see that. I knew I had that, but it wasn't there. But yeah, I basically just grabbed everything that I could. So I'll do some weird, I guess, unearthings or rediscoveries. Yeah. And go through all that.
Call it back in my day.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So it's funny, and it's funny to see, because this is like a junior high school, like late elementary school, junior high school kid, like interacting with this stuff. So a lot of the illustrations are colored, and yeah, there's a lot of funny stuff going on.
I get you with the love of Jeff D, man. Like actually in that expert rulebook thing I mentioned that because dude, nobody did flared pants and the big cuffed boots. It's like Jeff D did.
Definitely. Yeah, that was excellent stuff. Yeah, that totally, like, everybody wanted to play Champions at that time, and I was like, no, Villains and Vigilantes is my jam because of that artwork. Yeah, his artwork is throughout that whole thing. Yeah, so we'll take a look at those books. Yeah.
Champions is crazy crunchy too.
Yeah. And I even had the crossover book. There was a crossover between Car Wars and Champions. So you could play superheroes in Car Wars. So I have that book as well. Some real weird artifacty stuff coming to the channel. Yeah. All right. So one thing that may not be coming to the channel is a new release by Cubicle 7. So, of course, Cubicle 7 is the British studio that's got the Warhammer license. So they're doing Warhammer everything right now. And they're doing a card game for a video game. So Darktide is a video game by Fat Shark. It's a first-person shooter in the 40K setting. Previously, Fat Shark did Vermintide, which is a shooter, kind of an action shooter. It's like a team shooter in the fantasy in Warhammer fantasy setting. So that was, I think, what kept people like reminded of how great the old world is. And so they're trying to do Age of Sigmar, and people are like, yeah, but you're licensing the old world to these, game companies, and they're making good games. Yeah. So both Vermintide 1 and 2 are really a lot of fun to play. You're just like covered in Skaven and just like mowing through. It's like one of those mob shooters, kind of like Left 4 Dead. So instead of zombies, it's all Skaven, and in Darktide, it's a lot of zombies. It's just basically chaos, corruption. So you're against all kinds of heretic forces and demons and things. So this is the card game version. Previously, there is a miniatures game version that Games Workshop did. It's a board game, basically a board game. They just recycled some old kind of similar miniatures to the classes in the video game and just threw out a board game with Darktide on it. But this card game is going to be a cooperative card game. With probably using all the art assets from Fat Shark, which is some good looking stuff. But you're working together to eliminate heresy deep within an imperial hive. So you're basically just like these, slave Imperial Guard. So you're either going to be executed or you're going to serve to clear out these hives. And so you start out the game, basically in shackles. And they're like, well, we could kill you, or we're going to give you a gun and a wrench, basically, and go down and beat the hell out of whatever is tearing up this hive.
Okay.
Yeah. So the card game is going to have a 6-mission campaign, and you'll be able to scale it with different game modes to make it maybe a little more challenging or a little bit, more fun as a cooperative game. 260 cards, 6 player boards, the rules, and then cubes and tokens to play the game. It looks like a pretty tight little box. 45 to 90 minutes of gameplay and 1 to 4 players. So you can actually play it solo. So yeah, we'll see. And it's not coming out until the second quarter of next year, so you still have a little bit of time. I jumped the gun a little bit on this, but it was funny to see like Games Workshop is licensing this stuff and then keeps re-licensing it. So they licensed this idea to this company. Fat Shark created the setting and these characters, and now they're gonna sub-license that to Cubicle 7 to do a card game. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're just pushing it around because I think they had some real good licensing money coming in. So they're just going to keep pushing this around. But so Cubicle 7 is doing multiple 40K RPGs, as well as they do the old world fantasy and even an Age of Sigmar RPG. So if you like D100 versions of anything Warhammer, Cubicle 7 are your boys now, because Fantasy Flight, I think, pissed off Games Workshop by making competing miniatures games and lost the license.
And also, their version of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay was the worst version of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
It had the most tokens ever, the most tokens and dashboards for any fantasy RPG ever. They just love printing stuff. They just love printing jobs in China. That's the Final Fantasy Flight is addicted to queuing up printing jobs in China. So we got to have those token boards. We got to have the dashboards. We got to have decks of cards. Oh, wait, we're playing an RPG? Well, yes, kind of.
Yeah.
All right. And I think we should all pour a little out for our now defunct board game company, Mythic. Mythic Games is no more. So they are being dissolved after calamity and tragedy and every controversy you can imagine a game company having. They had financial, quality-wise, logistics-wise. So and they did some tabletop RPGs as well. So tabletop and board game company Mythic filed for liquidation. So they fell into that trap that it seems like any of these companies, Come On, or any of these Monolith, anybody could actually stumble into, where one of your Kickstarter projects doesn't do as well or gets delayed or runs way over in cost, and then you just start another one to pay for the previous one. And so you're on this evil hamster wheel of debt, and you have to just keep, putting up projects that people might be interested in, and they eventually catch on when 3 projects ago still isn't fulfilled. Some of the backers get a little, they catch on to your scheme and start to doubt the future of these projects. So several of their high profile games had serious delays and way beyond expected dates. Things like Reichbusters, Projekt Vril, and Solomon Kane faced huge delays. Solomon Kane came out okay, though. That was kind of that was an interesting way to play that game, because no one plays Solomon Kane. You play the virtues that control Kane. So that was an interesting way to kind of handle that world. So the big delays in delivery, poor communication. They didn't talk to backers or keep them apprised of what was going on. And that started a lot of backers accusing them of intentionally withholding information to kind of protect themselves, and basically lying through silence. And backers got very frustrated. Unmet stretch goals, missing content. So a lot of additional content that was promised, especially for things like Super Fantasy Brawl and Joan of Arc, including expansions, miniatures, exclusive components, were delayed indefinitely or delivered with a much lower quality than they showed off, for the campaign. And in some cases, people were starting to accuse them of false advertising, kind of bait and switch and false advertising. The financial difficulties and project management. So multiple of their overlapping Kickstarter campaigns started to slip with cost overruns. And then the rumor started coming out that they're just, they're only doing these projects because they need to fund, the previous. So they're accused of Kickstarter juggling and only having new projects just because they still owe money for something they haven't fulfilled yet. So we talked about this in late 2022. They acknowledged their financial difficulties and said rising production costs, shipping challenges, and global economic pressures have caused increased costs and delays. The big one was Time of Legends, Joan of Arc. That actually inspired a lawsuit. So there's legal issues over certain miniatures in that game, like historical figures and things that maybe had some sort of protection. They had to negotiate in court to actually use these likenesses or these probably names and historical figures. That delayed fulfillment and added costs and pushed many of the frustrated backers into requiring refunds and things, because they really didn't have any sympathy for them not doing their due diligence and finding out if they were even able to make a Joan of Arc game, if legally they were cleared to do that. There's shipping controversies for Anastyr and Darkest Dungeon, the board game. So the unexpected cost. So this was the story that we talked about. So they blamed the pandemic, but they said, you're going to have, if you want this game, you're going to have to give us an extra $100 or whatever it is for us to deliver it to you. So people that had already thought they paid for everything were handed another bill and said, yes, if you would like this, you're going to have to pay more. And so a lot of people couldn't afford that, and were very frustrated with how they handled that situation. And then, of course, the quality control was kind of all over the place. They delivered projects where miniatures were either broken, poorly molded, or just totally missing from set. So a lot of fulfillment and kind of logistics problems. The cardstock, rulebooks, and other components were much lower quality than was promised. And this caused people to be very concerned over what was actually going on at Mythic. And now we know, because Mythic basically yielded to all of this. They couldn't continue this. So I'm not sure what state that's going to leave some of these projects in. We kind of covered a few of the Darkest Dungeon, I think, was the people were very unsatisfied with the extra shipping, but we'll see. There's still stuff out there, and they still were offering, like, even when people were onto them, they were still offering new campaigns. So we'll see what actually happens. I don't know if someone's going to swoop in, like, somebody that can handle this better, like Come On or something, and buy up some of these properties. And I've seen that happen. There was a game book that I pledged, and it was a company that had made smaller board games, and there was some financial mismanagement, and they just bailed on the whole campaign. Somebody came in and bought everything. They said, we're not going to be able to ever produce this book, but what we'll do is, we bought all of their inventory for previous projects. If you want to take that credit, for what you paid for this book that is never going to get made, we'll ship you some of their previous games that we have. So something like that may happen. They may recover some things, but that's all going to take time. It's going to, to kind of reset everything and to figure out what's missing and what they need to do may take some time. So if you're waiting, keep waiting, because you never know. But liquidation means people are going to be buying pieces of this off. So hopefully some of this more interesting stuff will survive. But
if it's licensed, though, that could be a whole nother problem.
Because it's a whole other, because if they're either selling off those licenses, or even if they have the ability, to kind of sub-license them, it'll be interesting if any of that even happens. But licensed games especially, I think, are going to hit quite a wall as far as what they can do. Because they did, the Darkest Dungeon. I think Super Fantasy Brawl was their own thing. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to end up doing, but there's some things that might survive that were kind of their original properties. But that was funny. Joan of Arc, they didn't even check to see if they could use every one of those names in the game, and then whoops, I guess we got to go to court before we can fulfill.
Well, okay, I would never in a million years guess that Joan of Arc would be a problem. Chick was burned at the stake like 1,000 years ago, right? I mean, or not 1,000 years ago, sorry, 600 years ago. How can that be something someone owns the rights to? But I don't know.
I wonder if it's So it says that regarding that lawsuit, so Pascal Bernard, the author of Time of Legend, Joan of Arc, launched legal proceedings against Mythic Games. So it may be they were using like previously produced things. So the complaints of the author were numerous. He was mainly asking for payment of royalties on this game because, they didn't ask him for any final validation. So I guess maybe this game was based on his writing, his some sort of thing that this author did. So that it may not be use of actual historical names, but they must have based this on a pre-existing work. So it got tied up in French court. It was French court, so even that much more complicated. Oh, so yeah, the contracts didn't allow for them to remove the author's name from anything. So the author was saying, you changed the game too much. This is not the game I designed. I will not put my name on it. Oh, so that was the dispute. It was actually the design of the game. So not actual, it wasn't the estate of Joan of Arc that was upset. But yeah. All her relatives there that waiting for those checks. But yeah, so I guess who they were collaborated with for the actual game setting and stuff. He was unhappy with the final product, and they pushed forward anyhow, even after he wanted his name off of it. Fun. Well, collaboration can be fun, but or can go horribly wrong. But here's one that we hope works out. So our last story is Mothership. So Mothership is the first the 1.0 first edition finally was fulfilled, and everybody got their copy. And now there's going to be what they call a collab-funding campaign. So the makers, Tuesday Night Games, Night with a K, are working on kind of coordinating 20 creators that have been supporting Mothership all these years. And they want to kind of support the community by bringing attention to projects that are based on, that are done within this setting, done within this system. So the science fiction horror role-playing game was one of the few kind of things that started out digital only in kind of the indie scene and actually turned into a physical product available on store shelves. So that's pretty rare. Usually you kind of get doomed to digital only, or you never quite, you do like an expensive crowdfunder with some beautiful paper and things, but you never show up in retail. But Mothership did it, and Tuesday Night Games was successful. But since then, there have been so many kind of support creators have published so much work that is compatible with Mothership, and that's appeared on itch.io or DriveThruRPG or the creators' individual websites. This includes things like quests, campaigns, characters, monsters, and things like that. And starting on November 12th and then running through December 11th, Tuesday Night Games and their kind of handpicked 20 creators that have previously done work for them will all be launching campaigns for more Mothership content on BackerKit. So they're calling it the collab-funding campaign, and they're going to do that to kind of bring attention. So if the creators would have done this individually, they probably may have had varying results. But if they kind of all launch at the same time with the blessing and kind of promotion by Tuesday Night Games, it may go better. So the creator of Mothership was saying that one of the lead writers, so Luke Gearing, is working on something that so previously he had done Gradient Descent and Another Bug Hunt for Mothership. This new project that Luke Gearing is doing for this collab crowdfunding deal is called Wages of Sin. It will bring bounty hunting to Mothership. So McCoy, the creator of Mothership, said he's written his own 200-page toolkit of rules. But of the core, there's 100 bounties in this core book, 100 fleshed out people that you can go after in the setting, and different funding levels and different backstories. So he's been busy creating that in the world. So you either be able to go after things like hardened criminals, murderers, or innocent folks that have merely run afoul of major corporations, maybe stolen something valuable to feed their family, and you get to hunt them down and get paid for it. So there's a lot of grisly scenarios in there during your bounty hunting, and a healthy dose of horror, McCoy said. So that'll be that's something new that kind of didn't previously exist. So the final list of the 20 participants is still up in the air. They're still kind of firming things up, but they'll be ready in November to launch this. But a few things that the creator McCoy pointed out, Sean McCoy pointed out, was a few things that he liked. Was PK-49, a psychokinetic adventure from Mothership, is a experimental military grade pharmaceutical is leaked onto the black market, and you can include it in your campaign. Another one was Interloper, a mystery module for Mothership. So kind of a neon noir murder mystery on a rogue planet. Little Blade Runner-esque. Excuse me. And finally, Awaiting the Burning Gods, a module for Mothership, kind of Indiana Jones meets Stargate, as you it's a desert delve to uncover ancient alien secrets before they're lost forever. So yeah, so there's going to be a huge variety, and I guess we're really going to see like the how far you can push Mothership as far as like in that setting, sci-fi and horror, but what can you also do, within that?
Yeah, it feels like they're morphing it into a much broader science fiction thing than the original, just horror in space deal.
Yeah, and it looks like they were inspired by the community because the original Mothership was published in 2018, and since then there's just hundreds of pieces of content for it. So that may have inspired them to say, let's support this and kind of build out. So that'll be on BackerKit. There's not a link to that yet because it's not starting until November 12th, but once that's up and running, we'll link you to that. But just keep an eye out for a big bunch of Mothership on BackerKit. Yeah, so kind of like
big bunch of Mothership.
Yeah, kind of like
that should be the name of a module.
Yeah, right. A big bunch. Yeah. So that's really cool, though. It's really nice when a company is aware that they're getting a lot of support, kind of like Morkborg, that they're aware that people are really supporting it, and then they support them by, support the publication or inclusion in crowdfunding of stuff that the community has developed. It's very nice to see that. Oh, yeah. And speaking of that, so that's all for this week. But speaking of that, did you see the first kind of, I guess, licensed Two Little Mice? The outgunned system is Two Little Mice just sent out a notice. Cthulhu High School, I think it's called.
Oh.
So
the first word was interesting,
right? Yeah. So this is. I'll just add this kind of to the end. So I got a notification from Two Little Mice that Gear Games is using their system, their D6 system with the little symbols, to do a game called High School Cthulhu. High School Cthulhu. You are a student. It is the 90s. You live in Innsmouth, and something dark and terrifying is about to take your life by storm. This is High School Cthulhu, a teen drama role-playing game of cosmic horrors set in the mid-90s. Yes.
I dare you to run that for us, Jeremy.
No. Yeah, you're going to make me pledge. Yeah, so it's using the director's, what's it called? Director's Cut. Yeah, the Director's Cut D6 system that Two Little Mice made for Outgunned. And this is the first game to use it for a completely different kind of setting. So I wonder, because it's not going to be action based. It's definitely going to have things like sanity or, some kind of a mental and physical stats. But it's got a cute design. It's like very purple and blue. They kind of went with some nice extreme 90s colors. The artwork is fun. It's kind of like, more
anime looking.
Yeah, well, not too anime. It's more like 90s comics, kind of like a harder edge, like, self-published 90s comics kind of stuff. But they've got, cosmic horror dice and all of that good stuff. It didn't say and a ton of, the kind of all-in pledges, 200 euros. So they're doing a lot of books. Yeah, a lot of books and screens and dice and stuff. Yeah, wow. They're going heavy in. So if you like that, so if you like Outgunned, if you like Monster Hearts, maybe you're all set.
You're a big Buffy fan,
right. Yeah, so I thought that was funny. That was the first thing I've seen that Two Little Mice have recommended. They said, "Hey, check these guys out." So I could put a link to that if you guys are curious. But yeah, that was a funny thing to see. I'm glad that the system has people interested, other companies interested in, because it's very fun. It's a very fun. I don't know how you would modify it for high school, kind of drama. Yeah. So
I'm sure it's doable.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like something you might play more ongoing.
Yeah, that's true.
And the one thing I feel like Outgun is not really set up for is a real long-term sort of play. it's much more suited to the, like they go with like a movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
You do this movie and then you do something else, and interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. If you're going to do, I mean, if it's, I don't know, if maybe they came up with a way to kind of do it as episodic television or something, because that was the thing that Monster Hearts, I think, was good in their kind of explaining the game, is think of this as an episode, a session is an episode of television. Your campaign is a season of television, so both for the master of ceremony running the game, think of story arcs within the season, and then individual sessions can have like their episodic kind of climax. But so we'll see if we hear more of this. But I'm interested in what people will try to do with this system, because it's pretty fun and lightweight, and I love the pushing mechanic. If you've got a setting where going all in is a good idea, I think the system will work well. Yes. Going all in against Cthulhu, though, I don't think that's a good idea.
Isn't there already? Oh, yeah. There's an RPG it's like a little high school in Austin or somewhere in Texas, isn't there? Like, and it's got like supernatural stuff going on. What am I thinking of? I'm blanking on what it's called.
That sounds familiar.
My point is just that I feel like this has been done.
Yeah. And I think so. I think that combination is not completely unique. It's a nice, the aesthetic of their illustrations and stuff is nice, though. I think it works well. It doesn't feel like a cash in or some kind of like hacky thing. It sounds like they actually are, pretty genuine about their interest in doing it. Okay, so online student, the all digital pledge is €19. So anybody that wants to watch us play this,
oh, okay, that's not bad
19
at all.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. That gives you everything they're producing, plus all the unlocked digital goals in PDF form. So that's actually pretty unique, because I've been seeing, I forget what I was just looking at. They wanted $80 for the Pirate Borg. I was like, let's do Pirate Borg, and you had to choose one of the VTT platforms, but all the content was $80. Like, ouch. And we have some of that already. We already have Pirate Borg in Alchemy.
We got a workaround. Orcus answered my question in the chat. It was a game called East Texas U.
Ah, nice.
And it's a Savage Worlds based game.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Which also isn't fantastically great for really long games, but it is more suited than Outgunned.
Yeah, I wonder what they do for kind of horror effects, for being freaked out. Or maybe you're just like you're such jaded teens, you don't even care. You're like, yeah, whatever. Elder God, Schmelder God. Who knows? Anyhow, so that'll do it for this week. So where can people find you, Matt?
I am hanging out on Threads and Instagram. It's at Hargald. That's HAARGALD. Where right now I'm gently poking at the bear that is this furor about whether D&D was based on a war game or not.
Say it isn't so, Matt.
So many hurt feelings in this discussion, and I can't help but find it a little amusing. But I do talk about other game stuff on there.
Good.
And I'm painting some mutant. What do you call it? Zone Wars miniatures. So once I decide they're decent enough, maybe I'll show them to you. But
cool. Yes, and like you mentioned, you did an unboxing of the kind of completion, the empty promise of the expert set unboxing, and the empty box, I should say, the empty box. We uploaded another unboxing that you did. So I'll put a link to that in the description. Yeah. But
Jeremy was out of town, so there's no cool graphics or anything at all. It's pretty much just raw matte.
And I uploaded it from my phone, if you can believe that.
But it was kind of fun to finally right that wrong.
Yeah, nice.
I set my next one I want to do is the FGU Bushido box.
Nice. Oh,
I would love to land a copy of that because that's one of many games I hate myself for getting rid of when I was young. But anyway, enough of that. How about you?
Nice. Well, I'm going to try to do a Halloween stream for my cartoons. So Abuse Cartoons, it'll show up on this channel as well as the Abuse Cartoons YouTube channel. And I draw a single panel gag cartoon. October is all Halloween themed. So lots of candy corn jokes, I suppose. But you can watch me draw it, and then we'll take a look at the archive. The archive is on GoComics. So gocomics.com/domestic abuse, and Abuse Cartoons on all social media and different platforms. And you can also find out what else we're doing on Upturned Table, and you can support what we're doing here at the Weekly on Patreon. So the Weekling pledge on patreon.com/Upturned Table is where you can tell us what you'd like to see more on the Weekly, less legal talk about trademark lawsuits, and more of something else. But so upturnedtable.com is the main website. We Patreon, and then but also on YouTube. So if you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube, you can click the join button to become a YouTube member and get the same content, except for the RSS feed. Unfortunately, they haven't done a YouTube members like protected RSS feed. But on Patreon, you can get the audio from this complete live stream sweetened up so it's easier to listen to, and put on the just the RSS feed for your patron link. But everything else is going to be also on YouTube under the members category. And there's a list you can kind of see the videos and things under members. So that'll be it for this week. We'll be getting back to some Outgunned and more actual plays and stuff, and all kinds of very old stuff. So if you like looking at old boxes of yellowed pages of RPG books, that's coming soon. So thanks for listening and watching, and we'll be back again next week.
Bye.
Goodbye.